So you had mentioned the Gale Liberation Front at U of I. Were you a student then?
No, I was between colleges. I graduated from Bible College in Pennsylvania, and because Pennsylvania, you couldn't be an accredited college without a big endowment. And this little 20 student college didn't have a $500,000 endowment, but later they changed the law in Pennsylvania. But I was between colleges, and then I went to Vennard College in Iowa that had accreditation and got a second bachelor's there.
So it was open to community members as well. Did that go well between the working between U of I students as well as community members?
Oh yeah, yeah. Because, well, around a big university there are always people that are perpetual students. And I was very curious about lots of things. I have 43 hobbies, and so I'm curious about all different subjects, and was reading black magazines, Ebony and Jet, and various black magazines, because they were going through the civil rights endeavor, and I like to read all kinds of magazines. And I've met all kinds of students. There were different denominations of communists all competing against the other party, which is incorrect. Just like religious groups, there's all kinds of communists, and they were represented on campus and having literature tables and meetings.
So you mentioned that it was often difficult to print anything in phone books or in other ways that involved LGBT issues. But you mentioned also that the Illini, the Daily Illini, was good about reporting for events. So what was the relationship between the Illini or the Daily Illini and Gale Liberation Front?
Well, they would mention the meeting. I don't think anybody wanted to be interviewed. I don't know because at that time I didn't read the Daily Illini every day, even though my school buddy Roger Ebert was the editor a few years before. But at least having a meeting announced is something. Of course, we were shut out of all the commercial newspapers, except if something bad happens. And one of those people did it, but even then there wasn't much mention of homosexuals in any way. And all the print shops, because it was lead type and eventually photo offset, but the owners of print shops wouldn't print anything. We wanted, even though it was not obscene, we were just wanted to publish writing and not anything, but nobody nowhere, no how. And there were no copy machines, no Xerox. There was no way to do anything on your own unless somebody had a whole print shop, which took a lot of work. Because I worked in printing industry and with lead type and wood type and eventually photo offset, and so it was quite complicated to get anything printed. It was just like 200 years or 300 years ago. But now it's wonderful. You can copy something or do something on the computer and zip, 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 just print something out, which I do. And I can choose different type styles and try to make the type fit whatever I have written.
So you mentioned earlier the idea of being in a club that was involved with aviation and like the Army,
Air Force.
the Air Force?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell me more about that? How was that in regards to being gay and being in a group that was involved with that?
Well, in high school, I wanted to go to Culver Academy. I wanted to go to a military academy because I really didn't need all the girls in high school. But when I went to join the Air Force, I got a promotion from the very start for being in Civil Air Patrol, and that was good. And did my basic training, and then went to Chanute for computer training, and it was the longest tech school. And then I was sent to Peru, Indiana, to help on the flight simulator to train pilots to refuel bombers from the tankers. And then they discovered I was gay, and it was a SAC base, and all this fear of people being blackmailed by Russians or Albanians or Bulgarians or East Germans. So I got thrown out of the Air Force in 1961, and I went to the Pentagon to appeal. But all the old fat white generals didn't agree with me. So that was very unpleasant, because you were led to believe that every time you applied for a job, the topic of your military service, because before that millions of men had been in military service, and it was just expected that almost every American would serve in the Army, Navy, Marines, whatever, just as part of living. So that was a big blow, because I wanted to work up through the ranks in the Air Force and be a general. I had uncles that were colonels and lieutenant colonels, but my goal was to be president, like my hero Ike Eisenhower, who I met here when he was running for president. And that whole thing got shot down. So I was not happy with the "don't be gay or you're gone." Somebody ratted on me, and security came and questioned me. The Air Force equivalent of the FBI interrogate you because they're afraid of spies. And of course that was all stirred up by the hate industry, the MacArthur hearings, and people saying that Washington was infiltrated with communists, and lots of people got fired because they were accused of being a communist. And maybe they were a communist 20 years before, but thought it was foolish now. But they fired lots of people. And there were some gay people fired in the 50s and 60s in Washington that didn't have much of a chance, because they would just, somebody would accuse them of being gay, and that would be as bad as being a communist spy. But you could only be blackmailed by Russians because Americans set up the rules that way. if it was fine to be a communist or any other political party or to be homosexual, there wouldn't be any way of blackmailing you if you were just an equal citizen.
So, did you know any other gay people in the Air Force when you were in there, or were you?
No,